Hey folks, Mac McAdams here with another podcast for DragCycle&Cars. This is my second podcast. Unfortunately, due to distance, I can't have our next guest live and in person, but I think, much like myself, you guys are going to enjoy what we're going to talk about and who we're going to talk to. So, without further ado, or what all the cliches that people say, I've got Brian Dale, former owner and promoter of SDBA. Brian, welcome to the show, my guy.
How you doing, Max? Good to hear. Good to have. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excellent, man. I'm honored to have you, man. You've been an instrumental, big part in drag racing for myself and many others in the last, I'm going to say, 4 years, give or take. So I thought, given the last couple of days on social media, that who better, exactly, who better to have on than you? Because we apparently share some some common interests. I'll leave it at that, and we'll touch on that later in the show. But what I want to start off with for the viewers is basically introduce yourself. We know your name is Brian Dale, but when I say introduce yourself, talk about yourself. How did you get into drag racing? Was this a childhood deal where your dad drag raced, your uncle, your brother, your sister? Enlighten me and the listeners if you don't mind.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, thanks for having me on. I was co-founder and co-owner of the SDBA with Sonny Vic, and I retired from that about I think it's a year and a half ago now.
Okay.
But growing up, man, Dad was a hot rod, kind of guy. He was into pro mod car racing. He
Wow.
was, he put a car in the threes in 1994.
No
I want to
kidding. As a
say.
driver, tuner, or both?
But well, it's not like he didn't have help,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
he was builder, tuner, and driver, and he also led some R&D projects for nitrous oxide systems back in the 80s.
That is super cool. That was my next
Yeah.
question. What was his power adder? So nitrous. Okay.
He was all nitrous until pro mod. He went blown Keith Black style after that.
Oh
So
wow, cool. Yeah, that's some common interest there. That's cool. Okay.
yeah, so being born in 81 and him getting out of racing in 95 to focus on work and building business,
Sure.
like I was left thirsty for more at age 15 or 16. So
Yeah.
he subscribed to Road and Track magazine, and I'll be honest with you, I did, motorcycle drag racing didn't find me. I found motorcycle drag racing,
Okay.
and I feel like that is something that's extremely important at this day and time, especially with tracks closing um, and the rarity of our sport. It's not in the face of the public,
Yeah.
so I feel like motorcycle drag racing should find more people, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. I like that outlook and that perspective. Go ahead and proceed with
Yes.
that. Yeah.
So I was in a hot rod. I was into cars, and growing up poor and broke.
All
uh,
of us.
you
Yeah.
know, did I have some hot rods at a young age? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I did. Worked as hard as I could, as long as I could, or whatever I had to do to have a hot rod. But had kids at an early age and never got to fill that void. So
Sure.
I discovered motorcycles, and I never knew how fast they were
Yeah.
and how full of thrills they were until I bought one.
Well,
And
just to pause you for a second, just for the viewers and myself's knowledge, give me an age frame where you said, okay, I played with these, street cars and drag race and hung out with my dad with pro mod. How old were you when you parlayed and said, okay, motorcycle drag racing found me. I want to do bikes. How old were you?
um, I'm going to say I didn't. So I had kids at a young age, so I had to focus on them in
Okay.
their very early years. I'm going to say I was probably 24 when I finally even threw a leg over a bike.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yep. And
What was your first bike? Let me just get that.
oh boy. Well, okay. Back up for a sec. I did have a buddy that had a Hayabusa.
Okay.
But before he got the Busa, he had a ZX10, and he came and joined me, and I was probably 21, 22. He joined us in Panama City, and he was like, "You don't understand how fast these things are." I'm like, "All right, show me." And he says, "All right, uh, I rented a 50cc moped.
Okay.
And we rode around together,
Yeah.
and he said, "Stop, just park right here on the side of the road, and I'm going to go down there and turn around and come back."
Okay.
And he comes by me at like 100 miles an hour, and it just
Wow.
blows my ever loving mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I mean, 13,000 RPM. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Loud. Yeah.
holy crap, man.
Yeah.
Um, so that got my interest. A couple years later, he let me throw a leg over his Busa, and I was like, I've never ridden a bike before.
Wow. So you
He's
started,
like,
so
yeah,
your
I
first
trust you
true
though. You can
street
handle
ride
it.
was a
So,
Hayabusa. Is that fair to say? Am I understanding you right? It was a
do
Busa.
what?
Your first, street bike that you threw a leg over was a Hayabusa.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no kidding.
Okay, cool. All right.
So it was an '06 Busa, and he's like, "You got it, man." I mean, he kind of gave me some basics, and I went out there on the road, um, and pulled, put it in second gear to low speed, and started cracking down on the throttle, and the front tire started coming up,
Yeah.
and I turned that son of a bitch back around and
And
took
said
it
you're
back and
done.
dropped it off. I'm like, I'm done
Wow.
with this.
Yeah, at that age, man, it'll definitely wake you up.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I don't know, but a couple of years later, my first bike, I bought an '05. I want to say Gixxer 600.
Okay.
And, I went out there, and, I remember going like 135, 140, and it like hit me right then. I was like, now I know why they call it a crotch rocket. Like, it feels like you're on a rocket
Yeah.
hovering above the ground.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was a cool experience. So that's what got me started, man.
Okay, so you were street riding. You hadn't said, okay, let me parlay all the cool stuff my dad did with Pro Mod cars and all that. You hadn't parlayed the bike to the track at this point in time. You were just street riding on your Gixxer 6. Is that fair to say?
Huge, huge disagreements with the wife. I didn't ride that bike very much, and then it was gone.
Okay, all right.
And,
Yeah.
and and so the next bike, a couple of years later, when I just didn't care anymore, was an '07 1000.
Okay.
Had that for a little while. Ended up getting an '08 1000.
Yeah.
This was probably 2012 or 2013.
Oh shit. Okay.
And
Yeah.
I was going through a divorce, and didn't have anything to do with bikes. So,
Yeah.
um, and it had a, what do you call it? It had like the extensions on it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it was like I started getting a little free spirited with it, and I was like, all right, well, I want to know how fast this thing really is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because it's on Facebook, and it came up in my memories not too long ago.
Okay.
Actually, I think it was in June.
Yeah.
I had gone to Paradise Drag Strip in Calhoun
Is that in
while they were
Calhoun,
closed.
Georgia, or
While they were
where?
closed.
Is that Calhoun, Georgia? Where's that?
Yeah, sorry, Calhoun, Georgia. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
they were completely closed. There was nobody there,
Oh,
and I don't know what do they have back in 2012, 2013? Did they have a GoPro back then?
yeah, the
I don't know.
beginnings of it. Yeah, because I ran Pro Mod bike back then, and I had the beginnings of a GoPro. And it might have been a GoPro, but I know I had a precursor to it, right in that pocket. So you had something along those lines you were able to put on your bike.
Yep, I was able to put that on there,
Okay.
and I was really trying to show my dad how fast it really was. So,
That's cool.
no, no burnout, no nothing. Like I just took off
Yeah.
and just through the clutch, just took off like you're leaving from a red light, and I filmed it,
Yeah.
and then I cut it down, cut the video down,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm pretty sure, Dad, that I just went through the 8th mile in 6.5 seconds at about 120 miles an hour or so, and he was like, and he wasn't into bikes either.
Yeah.
He's like, there's no way there's that fast. There's something that fast on the street.
Oh, really? Wow.
And I'm like, well, I'm gonna pull this video up for you, and you just look at it. So,
Yeah.
past that, like after that, I ended up realizing that the local drag strip, Brainerd Optimus drag strip, and well, you're familiar with that track. It's
Yeah, definitely.
right on the Georgia Tennessee line, Chattanooga Ringgold.
Yes, sir. How far is that
And
from your house, just so the viewers know? Because I know that's a home track for SDBA, right?
that's a home track.
Yeah.
Back then, it's probably 35, 40 minutes. It's still 30,
Okay.
35, 40 minutes. I've moved to Tennessee, though.
Okay. So you live in Tennessee now.
I do. I live in
Okay.
Cleveland, Tennessee. Yep.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry to clip your story there. But go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
So, I realized I found out when they were open, and ended up taking my bike down there. And of course, like I met one person who had a motorcycle, and then you meet another one, and after continually showing up and starting to enjoy it and
Yeah.
starting to break stuff, you start learning where to buy your parts and
Yeah.
who's racing where. And
Yeah.
that's how I found the Man Cup, and that's how I found XDA. I
Okay.
mean, so like back to my original point, like it's really hard to find those. I had to
Sure.
go to the drag strip like 6 times and on a regular basis on a street bike
Yeah.
to learn that there was even such a thing as motorcycle drag racing.
Like an all sanctioning body of nothing but motorcycles.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I just to branch off a little bit. I'm spoiled, and I think you kind of know that in our region. Jason Miller, I don't believe he was the original starter of it, and I'm sure Jason can comment on this. Hopefully, he watches my podcast on YouTube. But we started out with our deal at MIR called the Superbike Showdown, and that's when it was a 1 day race all crammed into a Sunday, and Jason was a part of that. So I've always kind of had that inside loop and scoop as it grew. Started out Superbike Showdown, then kind of metamorphed into My Rock and so on and so forth to XDA. So to hear you be so far down south and really, I guess, out of touch, so to speak, and I'm sure it sounds like you came in later, so you never experienced Pro Star. Is that right?
that's correct. Never heard of her.
Okay. I've
I
heard.
never I
I like
never
it.
heard of it until I started going to Man Cup and meeting
Okay.
friends.
Yeah.
People started telling me about it.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
you can kind of go and do a little Google search and learn more about it. So,
Yeah, watch
but
old film
that's
and
how I learned about it.
yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of icons and a lot of measure up and not to make this about me by any stretch of imagination, but this will just give you an idea. As I ran the SDBA and our local points, I'm sorry, not SDBA, when I ran the Superbike Showdown back then, and our local points program at Maryland International Raceway and Capitol Raceway, I used to go to ProStar and ADCO and didn't feel like I was even good enough to watch or to race. So I just went there and watched. So, that was a huge deal back then. So, if you watch those old videos, as cool as they are, when you watch the likes of Charlie Prophet, Mimo Marciano, Robbie Ronnie, all those guys, they kind of bar setted back then. So it's cool to hear you coming in a little tick late because Man Cup is a precursor of that. So your first experience at Man Cup, was that overwhelmingly cool to you, or how would you say that was?
Well, I'll tell you. So, started by meeting the people at the local drag strip. So it
Sure.
was like Cameron Colby, Jason Davis, Bud Calhoun. They all race motorcycles at Brainerd. So,
Okay.
and eventually Sonny and some of the others.
Yeah.
Um, so, I think my first trip was with Bud, who he doesn't even race anymore. But
Yeah.
um, we load up and go down there, and
Hmm.
I'm so gung ho. I bought like 5 tech cards, man.
You're entering every class they allowed you to enter, huh?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
It was ridiculous, like $600 or $700 worth of tech cards and
Okay.
testing. I
On
think I
just one bike at that point.
on one bike. I
Oh, that's
had no
awesome.
clue what I was doing.
That's awesome. Just donating money, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was fun. It was learning. I was like, how do they run 890 every time? Like
Yeah.
how
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
got my ass handed to me, son.
Yeah, ain't no doubt, man. I tell you, I same deal. Back in those days, it literally, and if you rewind back then, yes, there was technology, especially in the time frame you're talking when you started to discover Man Cup. But just a decade later, the standalones and the tickets that are printed, no matter what class you're going after, is phenomenal. So for you to come in on a street bike, it's kind of cool to hear your take. So yeah, that must have been overwhelming.
It was neat, man. I think I ran my phone out of storage, video and Top Fuel, and the real street and all. I mean, I was so sold on it. I was so into it.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
So the fish hook hit you in the mouth, and where did it metamorphose from there? It's like, oh shit, I got to get a barred bike, or where was your
well,
mind when you left that?
I want to say like the second race. I think we went back down there again, and my motor blew. Which by then I had installed nitrous and a Macintosh swing arm,
Okay,
and some other stuff, and still didn't really know what I was doing.
sure.
I'm pretty sure I was losing oil pressure to my crank because I had an oil mod on the bike. I didn't put it there; it was there when I got it. I didn't even know what
Sure.
it was.
Right, exactly. I think we're all guilty
Uh,
of that, but yeah.
yeah, so I remember this highlight. I think it was my second race, and engine blew, and they had a gamblers race.
Hmm.
And Bud was like, "Why don't you get in there on my Busa?" And I was like, I've never ridden a Busa. Well, I mean, I rode one for a minute one time, but like never raced one.
Yeah.
He's like, well, it's just a lot more bottom end torque. Don't flip it over. Be
Yeah.
careful, go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And
I
you're a
won
little
that freaking
guy.
gamblers race,
Hold on.
man. I won 5 rounds in a row and met Ricky Gedson
Holy,
in the finals.
that
And
is
then I was
awesome.
hooked.
Was that a man cup race?
It was, yep. It
No
was like
kidding.
a Friday night gamblers race. Yeah, it was pretty
That
cool.
is super cool. And what I was about to say, and not to exploit you by any stretch of imagination, you're not a big fella. You're 5'5", 5'7", 130 pounds, right? Is that fair to say?
I'm 5'5", and as I get older,
Yeah.
my midsection just keeps thriving.
I
Uh,
love the analogy.
so I'm probably 165. Well, I know I'm 165. I'm suited now.
Okay.
So
Okay. Well, you're a small guy, dude. That had to be tough unless the bike was lower just to even find a nice, comfortable spot to leave on. I mean, my first experience on a Hayabusa, I was fortunate enough that Chris Clunch years ago, I'd never ridden a Hayabusa, not even on the street. And he said, "Hey, you want to ride? You want to ride my Busa?" And this was a Friday test session at then My Rock. And I said, "Yeah, shit. Why not? Not bragging, but I had been fast, but that was a challenge I'd never done. And to experience the torque of a Hayabusa short wheelbase, he had a Gen 1 Hayabusa with some Gen 2 cams, blah, blah, blah. I said, where do I leave at? He said, somewhere around, 2,800, 3,200, if memory serves me correctly. And he said, don't tack it out from the 1.2. And I think my first pass, I went 940 something and just had a
nice.
blast. Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
challenge, and I guess it goes back to that true hand clutch that a lot of people speak of.
Oh
So,
man, the hand clutch is so much fun,
yeah.
and I guess fast forward through my career a little bit. That's what put me in super stock was because
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll back up though. So I guess
Yeah.
going from there, I ended up with a Hayabusa probably the year after that. I'll say 2015 or 16, maybe something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
Gen
and I
2
started
or Gen 1?
competing. I'm
Was it
sorry.
Gen 1 or Gen 2?
It was a Gen 2.
Okay.
Like it was early model, so '08 model.
Okay.
Ended up, outfitting and getting it ready to race. I want to say I bought it from Clark and them,
Mhm.
Quinn O'Rand. And let's see. So I started running Man Cup on a regular basis with a true hand clutch,
Yeah.
and I would run Super Comp, Street ET, Pro ET,
Okay.
and I think those were the main ones. So
Yeah.
I'd say I guess the highlight. I think I can't remember if it was 16 or 17.
Mhm.
I placed in top 5 in all my classes. I won a championship in Street ET one time
In Man
uh,
Cup?
at Man Cup. I got real close
Congratulations. Yeah.
to
Yeah,
winning
that's
a
awesome.
couple other ones, but won
Okay.
a lot of races. Had a lot of fun on that bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. I got to where I couldn't travel as much anymore.
Okay.
Backed out of it a little bit and started playing with a bar bike just to run some top gas and super comp. So I built that one like from the ground up, and
Now,
you know,
now, my memory, and not to clip you, sorry. Was it a small tire FBR chassis? Do I remember that you owned one of those?
it was a small tire. Um, what's that manufacturer out of Florida? CNS.
Oh, D&G.
It
Or
No,
was
it's
it?
not D&G. I
No,
don't think.
no, I'm sorry.
Weeks
Oh,
Performance
Weeks.
bought them.
Okay, all right. Well, that sheds a little light there. Okay, so they built the bike small tire. Was it nitrous assisted or all motor?
Yeah, no, it was nitrous assisted. So,
Okay, cool.
um,
That was
but
probably fun to ride.
I didn't know anything about the oil modifications that needed. Like, I didn't know anything about oiling, and I was going into a hard chassis motorcycle.
Oh wow.
So I dropped a stock motor in there.
Yeah.
Didn't even know to ask any questions, so that
Yeah.
blew that sucker up pretty fast.
Lesson learned, and it was a costly lesson. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
blew a couple of them up before I
Sure.
realized it. So I
Yeah.
will say that I ran a 7-second pass on that bike first time out. So.
Okay. I bet that put a shit-eating grin on your face. You were happy as hell with that, right?
Well, going from a street bike with
Mm-hmm.
a shock chassis,
Mm-hmm.
style chassis, um, is extremely. I don't know. There's an extreme difference between going from that and going to a bar bike for somebody that's never done it before.
For sure.
It's like going from, we'll say, like a Mustang or a Camaro
Yeah.
down to a go kart in
Sure.
some aspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not quite that extreme, but
Yeah.
you go to a rigid, solid, rigid, solid chassis with no shock, and you're literally an inch from the ground at this point.
Yeah.
You're, the speed tunnel. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? The
Yep.
speed tunnel is so much more extreme.
Absolutely.
That and those things are they're quick, and top gas numbers are quick. So
Yeah.
that 135 to 150 miles an hour in the eighth mile, that comes fast. It's a lot of freaking fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, uh, anyone that goes from a street bike to a barred bike, and myself is a little bit opposite. I've kind of always been a barred bike guy. I've been fast no bar. I've been fast, pretty much in every combination. But honestly, excuse me for a second, struggled with the longer no bar street tire deal. Just for the ergonomics of being able to lean it and ride it, because my mind is a one track mind with, sit still, get your whole body off, because I have a set of wheelie bars back there. So I totally understand what you're saying. And then you factor in the speed. It's a hell of a learning curve. And I think we're all guilty of watching so many people do it and make it look easy, that it's like, oh, I can do that. And then it's like you jump into that little kiddie pool. Sometimes it's like, holy shit, what did I just do? And that was a small tire bike, correct? It wasn't a big tire bike.
Yeah, it was a small tire bike.
Okay.
I got some experience. I want to say a couple of years ago on a big tire,
10-inch tire
on a big
or
tire bike.
11-inch tire?
Yeah,
It was 10-inch? Yeah.
yeah, it was 10 inch.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 inch.
How did
So
that go
that
for
was
you?
fun. I'm sorry.
How did that go for you?
It went all right.
Yeah. Top.
That first pass or two, didn't do too well.
Yeah.
Just maybe communications and me not being comfortable quite yet. But
Sure.
I got the hang of it. I didn't get to ride that bike a whole lot. I think I ran the number a couple of times. I might have won a round or two, but
Yeah. Now, just for the fans, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, was that the same bike that I rode at that big $60,000 race in Indy? It was a copper colored big tire bike, Katana body.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Small world of it. I ended up on that bike, and I'm a bigger guy than you. I think I ran 850s with it, and went, shit, I think 7 rounds before I checked out against Terry Hoke. So yeah, no, I know the bike very well, and I do recall you riding it, and that's definitely cool. Have you ever been on an 11-inch tire bike, or a pro mod, for lack of better terms, or a 460?
No, nothing. No, that's as fast as I've been. Is
Okay.
around that 510 range or something like that.
Okay.
On that bike or my small tire bike. I wanted to run a 4 on mine,
Yeah.
but I think the best I got was like 506 or something like
Oh,
that.
so
But
close.
that was a bone stock motor with like a 40 shot or 60 shot of nitrous.
Oh shit, you can't complain there. Bone stock motor, and you're able to put that up. And again, you're blessed with your size. It's not good for a bar fight, but it's great for the sport we're in,
That's right.
right? So you obviously, and when I first noticed you and came upon you and Sonny, which before I start talking about that, why don't we talk about your relationship with Sonny? Am I correct in saying, just by what you were just saying, that you and Sonny became friends at Brainerd? Is that where you guys started hanging out?
So we did, yeah, and I had noticed him out there a couple of times. Didn't really talk to him, and then we encountered each other a few more times, and I think I might have helped him fix his bike or something at one point,
Sure.
just something small.
Yeah.
And we got to chatting, and I was actually in the process of I don't know. I was just a little burnt out with all the motor problems on the bar bike, and just trying to figure all that stuff out by myself.
Yeah.
I'm not that much of an engine builder. I can tune,
Sure.
but
I know
uh,
that firsthand, but we'll get to that. But go ahead.
um,
Yeah.
anyway, I was kind of, I don't know. I was discouraged at the time. I was throwing my bar bike up for sale. I was going to sell my boost. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he calls me, and Sonny had been hosting local races at Brainerd, like I think 2 a year or something like that. And
Oh
he actually
wow.
had really good like turnout, like 20, 30, 40, bikes from the local area.
Yeah. Yeah. So like a bike
Um,
night kind of deal, just a 1 day bike night thing.
Yeah, just a
Okay.
1 day race kind of deal, or better yet, mixed in with the car races.
Yeah.
So, but he was kind of like building up this local class, and it was pretty impressive to see.
Yeah.
And I had participated in a couple. I'm thinking might have won one.
Okay.
My memory, by the way, guys, if we're trying to quote days or
Yeah.
races or whatever, my brain prioritizes in survival mode, and I only remember what I have to do to put food on the plate tomorrow.
Hey, you're talking to the same, after last year's experience, my short term is gone. So likewise.
we get Me and the wife will get done watching a movie, and she'll be like, we've seen that before, and I'm like, no way.
You're that bad. You make me feel good about myself. Let's clarify that because my friends group will run with that. So yeah, no, okay. So
So Sonny brought to the table in the situation. Well, first of all, that phone call, he calls me. He says, "Hey, man, I've been thinking about creating like a local series, maybe some races, couple hours in this direction and this direction."
okay,
And I'm
give me the
like,
year. Give me the year for the viewers. We talking 2019, 2018?
probably 2019,
Okay,
end of year
cool.
2019,
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, go ahead.
because we started this thing up in a matter of months, if I remember right.
That's
So,
awesome. I can't wait to
um,
hear it.
and I was like, you've been doing great. Your numbers are great, and that'll be fun. Good
Yeah,
luck.
yeah, for sure.
Bye. Bye. Good luck. Bye.
Oh, so you just said, all right, well, I'll tend. There was no conversation of a partnership at this point.
No, but I was sitting there and I was working in my garage, and I got to thinking about it, and I was like, I think I could really help
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I've been to national events now.
for sure.
I know a lot of the sponsors.
Yeah,
I know, I've just gotten to know a lot of people, and I
sure.
also like I've got the Facebook friends, and I started thinking about the fact how frustrated I was that one series down south would go to North Ohio and go to Florida and try to be like nationwide, and then the other one's all the way up in the Northeast.
Sure.
And whenever I wanted to race, you had to travel so
Yeah,
far,
a lot
and
of
all that
travel.
stuff just kind of hit me. So I call him back, and I'm like, "This does actually sound like a really good idea. Do you want to partner?" And
Okay.
he was like, "Yeah." We discussed the different things we could bring to the table. Um,
Yeah.
we discussed what a partnership would look like. We started, just kicking these ideas around, and I started, working on some logos. And so I was like, so my role can be like financial, and sponsor media,
Yeah.
and his role would be like, you know, locking down the tracks, and setting the rules, and uh, operations and different things like that. So we came up with our own with our roles and things like
Okay. Yeah.
that. And yeah, I went to Facebook, told people what we were going to do,
Yeah.
and started getting some like professional stuff together, some marketing material and things like that, and then we uh, actually locked in a schedule for 2020.
Yeah.
2020 is the year COVID hit, right?
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
unfortunately unlucky timing and not to parlay it, but I did the same thing with my current business. Tried to start it or purchase it in the middle of the pandemic. So, it's definitely 2020, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, and the rest is history. Um,
Yeah.
we got off to a great foot. We
Well,
we hired
let
we
me,
hired in the big media guys, which I guess we'll get
yeah,
to come cover the events and
yeah,
make sure that the word spread. And
sure.
did we get a little bit of a lucky boost because of COVID? Yeah, we did, because Georgia was one of the first states to open, and guess where our second race
Yes.
was planned?
Yes. Well, I want to kind of speak on that myself. And that's when you, myself, and Sonny really became, good friends at that point in time. I knew of both of you guys. I'm not kidding. But, here I was stuck up here in Maryland, so close to so much politics, which I'm not a politic guy. So let's not even touch on that. But I remember actually reaching out. I believe I reached out to you first. I know I spoke to both of you guys like, hey, we're up here itching. We're all got cabin fever. You guys, and again, till this day, I'm still grateful that 460 wasn't even on the map in your mind or Sonny's mind, but you guys created it for us, allowed us to come, open arms, really ran. I mean, I was at your first event, and I can speak, you know, for a lot of people, everyone that came along here from Maryland, and all my friends in 460, and even the bracket class, Jimmy Shiflett, and all that stuff. You guys ran a tight ship. It was awesome for to come out with a brand new series, no matter who particularly likes to take credit and think they put you on the map. No one put you on the map. You and Sonny put yourself on the map. I want to make that
Yeah.
crystal clear for everybody else. Was it, you know, maybe a little bit more bike count because we all had cabin fever? Well, you know, good on you, because at the end of the day, as a businessman, and I pride myself, and I've been in multiple businesses. You know, at the end of the day, you and Sonny hung your ass out the window, and you put yourself out there. Little did you know, COVID was going to smack this fucking world like it did, and you still forged on and you still killed it. So before you proceed, I just wanted everyone to know it was top flight. You opened arms, you dug in your own pockets, and you allowed us to come down there and race. And for that, eternally grateful. So
Well,
proceed.
appreciate. Well, we and we appreciated that. We appreciated that you guys trusted us.
Yeah,
And I can tell you, I didn't sleep for probably 3 days
I can
straight.
imagine. Yeah,
We
yeah,
wanted to make sure, especially with it being our first event.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. I was nervous. I was
sure,
scared that everything wasn't gonna go off without a hitch.
sure.
And that racetrack filled up.
Yeah.
It filled up. It looked like a full blown no prep racing
It
thing.
was it was awesome, and again, I got to say this about that particular race, and the Sparrows, and that's their last name, correct? That own Brainerd Motorsports Park.
Pharaoh with an F.
Pharaoh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, totally no
Stephen
insult.
Amy. Yep.
Yeah,
Stephen
both
Amy.
of them. The way I met Mrs. Pharaoh was my loud music that unfortunately till this day still pisses tons of people off. She came over and let me know at whatever time in the morning that she was not happy about it. But I ended up building a relationship with them because of you and because of Sonny, because I'm a repeat offender with SDBA. I ended up renting the track multiple times, and you actually, without hijacking and let you get to that point, they're awesome people. They bend, don't break. I had some issues when I rented the track, and we had a certain time frame it was supposed to cut off, and he literally looked right at me and said, "Mac, you got another hour. Don't worry about it." I said, "What do I owe?" And he said, "Nothing." I mean, you know, with all these tracks closing up, the entire country needs to know how badass those two people are, husband and wife. And I personally know from past and present what it's like to run a business with your spouse. You almost want to stab each other every 10 seconds, but those two are badass. So getting back to what you said, it's packed, everything's great. Go ahead and move forward with that.
Yeah, it ended up being a great event. And it if nobody in the country had ever thought about hearing of a new organization, I
Yeah.
think we were on the map, and
Yeah.
yeah, we paid the media to come cover it, a
Yeah.
couple of different media outlets,
Yeah.
and that helped spread the word as well.
Sure.
And it was actually, I mean, it was a great takeoff, man. And
Yeah.
SDBA is family friendly, and I've been retired from it. I don't consult for them. I don't
Yeah.
I'm not financially involved. Sonny does his own thing. I found out he created a true hand clutch class
Oh, no shit.
after they had their first race, and I heard about it. And I'm like, "Oh, Sonny, did you do that?" And he's like, "Yeah, altered the schedule too." I'm like, "What?"
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, let me ask you that.
but
Since you said that, what made you retire? Or, just life,
well,
business, physical? Because I know you
I'm
had
gonna
some
say
ailments, right? While you got
I'm gonna
off the
say a
bike?
little. I'm gonna say like a little, maybe a little known problem that I guess you just I think getting older and not knowing that you need to drink a lot of pure water every day, especially
Yes,
if
sir.
you've got like a nicotine addiction,
Okay.
which I've been battling for a long time. I'm trying to cut them. I actually
Yeah.
let's quit for a couple of weeks and I picked them back up. It's like, damn it,
Yeah.
But what
Yeah.
I didn't realize is that I had gone God knows how long without drinking pure water,
Wow.
and I had chronic dehydration so bad
Okay.
to where if I didn't sleep perfectly,
Yeah.
I would wake up with a strained muscle.
No kidding. Wow.
And
Okay.
it's ridiculous because I had like this acupuncture type, what they call dry needle therapy.
Sure.
I had been to a spine doctor. I had been
Yeah.
here. I had been there. racked up all these medical bills. And then one day, you know what? I think I might not be drinking enough water, you idiot.
It was at the
And so
doctor,
I
or just
started,
it smacked you and you
it
realized it?
smacked me in the back of the head. I
Okay.
figured it out. So I was like, I looked it up. I'm like, how much water is somebody supposed to drink? And it says if you, not including the water that's in Coke or tea or your foods and all this, you should drink like uh, zero point 0.7, well, 70% of your body weight in ounces. So, for
Yeah.
example, if you weigh 100 pounds, you drink 70 ounces of water a day.
Yep. Yep.
And so I just started drinking a gallon of water a day, every
Okay.
day.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, a week or two later, all of those problems were gone.
That's awesome.
Every single one of them. But I couldn't even ride a bike, man, without,
Like a
like holding my
bicycle,
head
you
up.
mean? Or a
I'm sorry?
motorcycle? Bicycle or motorcycle? When you say you couldn't ride a bike?
Motorcycle, hunched
Okay.
over the fuel tank, lift your head up, and you're out there in pain all the time, and
Yeah.
especially on the hot days that we race,
Yep.
geez.
Yep.
Um, so I actually quit racing and everything because I couldn't figure out what to do about it.
Yeah.
And then after I sold everything, I was like, oh, all right, well, but with that, I needed to focus on some of my personal financial things and business and stuff.
Sure.
So I said, Sonny, I'm not going to be at the track. I'm not going to be racing. I got some things I got to focus on in life.
Yeah.
And, we worked out a deal. And I said, after this year, I'm just gonna bow out. So at our little closing banquet, I let everybody know.
Yeah.
And also had, consulted with Sonny. Look, this is how I've been doing this. This is how I've been. I actually wrote a little piece of software for our ladders and stuff. So
Okay.
I gave him all that stuff.
Yeah.
And um, but he's done fantastic with it, and
Yeah.
it's done nothing but get bigger and better and more family friendly.
Yeah.
And everybody down here in the southeast that runs SDBA, I think, will tell you that they love it.
Yeah,
So
I would honestly agree with that. I think I've been fortunate enough to make 4 races, I think, and you're 100% right. It is family friendly, right down to the junior dragsters running, just the laid back. You and Sonny, couldn't be more fair on every single call. You're racers, and and business can be tough. I don't care what business you're in. You're not going to please. If you get 300 people show up on the property, you're going to get someone pissed off at you. I don't care who it is. Everything is how you handle it. And both of you guys really have been great. And to see Sonny really kind of go out on his own and continue to grow it you know, with good payouts, good turnouts, good sponsorship. I mean, big name sponsors don't just say, "Hey, here's my money." They need an ROI. They need a return on their investment, and they're getting that with SDBA. And I'm happy for Sonny. I'm happy for you. I'm happy that both of you guys created it, because as we watch these tracks continue to close up, being a business owner and a commercial property owner that I am, sometimes it's just easy to go, you know what, fuck it, pay me, you can have it, I'm done. And you guys are fighting the fight. So you're not doing that, meaning him, and you weren't doing that
I was
early
gonna
on.
say, but he's fighting the fight.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's good for Sonny. He's awesome. I mean, one thing I can say about you, and this is no offense to Sonny, because I know that poor fellow went through some serious misfortune all in a fell swoop with his garage fire, and there's other stuff too. He doesn't travel like you did when you were racing, because hell, I think I saw you at a big old stack of XDA races, and whether you came up to the XDA races to enjoy yourself and race, or be a smart businessman and go, how the hell are they doing it? Let me take some good things back. I mean, it was just good to see you, and I know there was plenty of hangout nights that you and I've had together that is fun. So I'm happy to call both of y'all my friends, and
Well,
see him flourish.
likewise, and I tell you what, if I look at first, I will say those guys up there have that guy up there has a wonderful organization.
Yeah,
It is top notch, professional,
yeah,
and mad respect to them.
yeah,
And I love going up there.
yeah,
I love the races. The fact that the fact they can manage 700 or 800 motorcycles in a weekend.
yeah,
Hats off, man. It's unbelievable. And
yeah.
and your rig and your setup and your bikes, I've always admired. By the way,
Thank you.
it's
I appreciate that. Thank
top
you.
notch, first class. And
Yeah, thank you.
it's always badass. Always a blast hanging out with y'all too. So
Yeah, yeah, and before we go into how you and I are trying to help this sport move forward, as we said on my YouTube and podcast, can I ask you, is there a chance you might, get back into racing, get another street bike, get a car? I mean, where's your future when it comes to Brian Dale racing?
believe it or not, I kicked around NHRA Pro Stock for a bit.
No shit. Okay, cool.
I
Yeah.
have, and I know you didn't know that before I just told you, but
No.
I've kicked that around for a couple of years. I've thought about it.
Yeah.
Even tried to raise some money, see if I could get some interest in some sponsorships. I mean,
Yeah.
being in the insurance business, commercial insurance, mostly transportation, literally any business with wheels, though.
Okay.
I thought that some insurance companies would want to get their name in there. I know of one in particular that should,
Yeah.
and if I can, I, we'll get into that. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that there's a potential one day that I might throw a leg over a Pro Stock bike. I'm
Okay,
just
so
gonna leave it at that.
that's a lifelong dream, and if you're gonna do it, it's like, well, fuck it, let me go right to the top. Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, I would love to be out there and just at
Yeah,
least be a competitor for, even if it was just for one race, it'd be awesome. It'd be a
yeah,
that is kind of a dream. I um,
yeah,
always wanted to do something, compete at the professional level. So, but that's not really necessarily in the plans.
yeah.
I will say that I'll probably hop back on another, like a Top Gas or Super Comp Busa at some point in the next year or two.
Okay, well, glad to hear it, and I think the folks that are listening and all your friends would love to see you back, man. I mean, it was cool. Why don't you tell the folks what was your career best in Superstock? Because you were running a ZX14, right?
I was,
Okay.
and I was kind of wrenching on that and tuning it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I did have Hannibal Merced do the original, dyno on it, but once I got all the computer stuff and all that tuning stuff, I took it from there and just kept improving and improving and improving.
Yeah.
I think I ran an eighth mile pass around 573 one time,
Okay.
um, and I actually, it could have been a couple of numbers better than that, but
Yeah.
um, which is good for my weight. It's really good actually.
Yeah.
And I ran some 880s,
Okay.
but I was consistently low 890s
Yeah.
there towards the end. And
Yeah.
I was up there in Maryland,
Yeah.
and I actually had an O-ring blow off the oil filter
Ugh.
one weekend.
I
And
think I remember you telling me about that weekend. But go ahead. Yeah.
I'll never forget this. I was, at the top of fourth gear and climbing,
Yeah.
and the tachometer just eases towards the red line,
Mm.
and I'm like, I just blow the clutch, so I just like let off
Yeah.
all the way, like I rolled completely out fast,
Yeah.
and I didn't know that I had the oil filter had blown the O-ring straight up, so it had gone up and over the motor
Wow.
and soaked the whole back end of the bike, soaked the whole tire.
Damn.
Um,
Didn't it
so
blow
when
your
I left,
fairing off, or
when I
was that not? Do I remember that correctly?
what's that?
Did your fairing come off during that, or at the same race? For some reason, I remember a conversation I had with you. And again, let's revert back to both of our memories suck. So that's not the same situation, right?
No,
Did
it
you?
is the same.
Oh,
So,
okay, good. Okay, sorry.
yeah, when I let off, engine tries to decel, back tire brakes loose instead of slowing the bike down.
Yeah,
Um, and it's windy. It was windy that day.
yeah.
And next thing you know, like I'm sideways, leaning backward, leaning over to my left,
Wow.
and my instincts like let go and slide. And I was like, last ditch effort, pull that clutch in and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But it happens so fast.
Sure.
That was probably all in a split second. Well, I grabbed the clutch and the bike almost high sides me over the other side. And the
Wow.
fairing blows off of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I did a stopping that thing, threw the kickstand down, and just laid down.
Yeah, it's like the adrenaline dump there. I've been there, man. It's like, what the fuck just happened? So yeah.
150 miles an hour, and you about high side the damn thing.
Yeah, I remember you coming over the trailer telling me the whole story, and you're like, I fucking can't believe it. Yeah, yeah, I've been there. I rented a Pro Street bike from Rodney Williford, and first pass, he's kind of, I've been fast at the point. Oh, it's gonna be easy. Da 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 da. Well, I get out there, and one of those carbon fiber wheels, rear wheels, completely explodes. Little did I know,
Oh,
on top of the bike. as I did pretty much what you did. The bike went left, went right, and I'm talking trying to high side me. It ended up planing out, meaning come to find out the entire center of the wheel had disintegrated, but the actual outer part of the wheel and the tire was still inflated, but it locked sideways. So I went through the eighth of a mile, I think 501 at whatever, 130 couple miles an hour, burning my souls off. And I thought the thing blew the motor up. And when I get down the end, I'll never forget Joey Gladstone. And Joey, if you're listening, if you're my friend, you are listening. You'll attest to it. You came down and laughed, and basically, you're an OG bad MFer, and I'm like, what happened? And Ryan Snitz was there too, and he took the bike, and I turned around, and looked at it, and I've been there with you. It was like, oh my
You're
god.
telling me the tire had turned side
Yeah,
the
yeah, the
whole
whole
the whole thing. I mean, the whole wheel was sideways, locked in the swing arm.
Yep, locked in the swing arm, and crazy.
Holy cow!
Yeah, and crazy Rodney Williford gets down there, and the swing arm was ground up because it was riding on the swing arm. How I didn't go down, at that particular time, not to throw shade on this carbon fiber manufacturer, but I think I was number 4 or 5 of the person that happened, and turns out it spun dead hook and just blew the center hub out of the wheel. And Rodney goes, well, shit. I can fix it. And I'm like, well, you need to fucking ride it before I get back on this fucking thing. And sure enough, that crazy little son of a bitch, and they're family to me. All the Willifords, they're absolute family to me. He made a pass on 740 couple, and I'm like, well, shit, I guess I'll get back on it. And I didn't do anything impressive, but the reason I tell you this is, it happens in split seconds, and your mind is like, what's going on as you're trying to comprehend exactly what's going on. So for you to be fortunate as I was, I'm not going to say skill by any stretch of imagination. I don't think you would say the same thing. It's trained luck. That, hey, shit, I'm going to try this, like
Yeah.
you said, pull the lever in, and it went your way. You put a filter on it, and I think you took the other fairing on, and you proceeded, correct?
So yeah, I had to, and that's a crazy story, by the way. It's impressive too, but it
Mm-hmm.
is. Some of it's muscle memory, and some of it's instinct, and some of it's just knowing like how things work.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we all get to a point where, you know, a save could look ridiculously awesome, and we were scared for our lives. We were just trying to hang on.
Yeah, it's like I meant that, but you didn't. Yeah,
But no,
yeah.
that particular moment, I was ready to load up and go home. I was surprised that my underwear was still the same color and all that. And
That's awesome.
I
Yeah,
talked to you, and I
yeah,
talked to Dustin and Ben and Spencer and
yeah,
some other guys, and I was like,
yeah,
"This is what happened. I think I'm going to go." And they were like, "Man, you can clean that up. Clean it up.
yeah,
Here."
yeah,
Somebody might have went and got some brake cleaner. I don't remember, but
yeah.
um, it took me the rest of that day and probably part of the next. I had to, zip tie and sheet metal and get the fairings back together. And
Yeah,
I went out and made a test pass to see. You still had oil in crevices that was still
sure.
kind of dripping. And
Yeah,
I think I went out there and blew the tire off once and found a couple other little things and
yeah,
told them, it's possible cleanup a little bit here, not bad, but
yeah,
that way the starting line, wouldn't be ruined for everybody. But I,
yeah.
I was a little nervous about doing that. I didn't want to mess the track up,
Of
but
course not.
it all went off without a hitch. And um,
Yeah.
I
Well,
ended up, I actually ended up runner up
no
that
kidding.
weekend to David Fondon and
That's a
ran
bad
one of my
kid,
most
man.
impressive races.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a hell of a freaking accomplishment, man. I commend you with that. That's what I mean. It sucks that, and it doesn't sound like you're gone. This is a sport that literally we all get bit by the bug, and I don't know how many times I've quit and sold everything, and then I have a handful of money and I get right fucking back into it. So I think you're just taking a little hiatus. I'm not saying you're to come back and, open another sanctioning body or jump back into that, but you get the bug and you succeed in the adversity of it, and you catch that win. We say it all the time. It's like these fucking bikes, they know, like, when we're about done with this shit, and they throw you a bone just to go, oh, you ain't going nowhere. So I think we're gonna see you back, but I do want to bring up, let's talk about this whole social media thing, and I want to lead in
All right,
because
before we do that, let's take a quick
okay.
break. I gotta take a pic.
All right, Brian, which leads me into our next topic of conversation here. I think people don't really know what my problem is with sack propeller. Um, Enjoy the shirt. I'm purposely wearing this shirt to send a message, but just to clarify, some say I pick on people or I exploit people or I have deeper rooted issues just for no reason. Well, my backstory with Sack is I've been nothing but good to that Joker for shit the last 20 years, give or take. I did, back in the day, when I say back in the day, it wasn't that long ago. I owned multiple auto body shops. I did plenty of work for this guy, and thought we were friends. And during the pandemic, ironically, the race after the first race I went to, SDBA, that you were generous enough to include 460. Again, thank you. I'm headed to the next race in Crossville, Tennessee, because that's where SDBA was taking us. So at that point in time, I was locked in following you and Sonny and committed to it. And I get a phone call from a really close friend of mine to get on Sack Propeller's YouTube and to see a picture of my motorcycle culminated with a picture of Bubba Wallace. And I want folks to go back to 2020 and think of where this world was, with so much animosity and division, no matter if it's white, black, whatever the perspective was. I'm not going to get into all that. But the caption on Sack Propeller's joke tube was, is NHRA going to make Mac paint his bike? So basically, Sack Propeller decided to inadvertently use me as clickbait and call me a racist. I don't care when you click on that video, which I never have, because the last thing I'm going to do is stand behind a joker like that then used me as clickbait, try to create controversy, which he's done for my close friend Mitch Brown, over the whole, is Mitch really, number one in Top Fuel? He's done slanderous things to Ian King, and my list goes on and on. So I want the folks to know this isn't just he said something wrong to me. He basically tried to defame my character. I called him. I basically demanded he take that video down from JokeTube, but Sack Propeller continues to have it up. He continues to exploit people for his own personal gain. He continues to basically, what I think, overstep when it comes to videoing women. It doesn't matter their age. It doesn't matter anything. He is...
I want to add something. I want to interject something real
Sure.
quick.
Yeah.
If Sack Profella is asked to remove a video and you did not give consent, or you tell him that I don't consent to this video.
Yes, sir.
If I understand correctly, he is required to take it down. Just wanted to add that, but please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that, because, obviously he's overstepped so many times to so many people. It's my understanding. I don't know this to be valid. I wasn't there. I'm not him. I don't spread rhetoric. I spread, facts or what people are talking about, not for my own personal gain, because I just want the folks to know I'm not doing this YouTuber podcast to be financially set. I'm not bragging. I am already financially set. I'm trying to help our motorcycle and car community grow and cover things that other people aren't covering. And when I say cover, I'm not filming derrieres of 15-year-old women or derrieres of 40-year-old women. I don't need to do that for attention. And sadly enough, this joker, it does just exactly that. And it just continues to get deeper and deeper. And, it's my understanding he overstepped with somebody and basically got hit, and he's suing that fella. So just so the folks know, he's that guy. He's going to video your wife, your daughter, your niece, anything that's going to be beneficial to him. He's going to make you a mockery, meaning for his own personal gain, no matter what that is. If it's over a number one plate, or if the flavor of the week is black against white, then all of a sudden Mac, with a General Lee theme that he's had since 2004, is a racist because Bubba Wallace said so. And for the record, NHRA can't make me do a fucking thing as far as painting my bike. But you see where that's clickbait. And I'm not a clickbait guy. If this video seems, when you look at my thumbnail, that it's clickbait, I would love to say so much more. And I'm not, because I just told you this, Sack Propeller is that guy that wants to call up a lawyer because he hides behind that mask. But what I can tell you, Sack, more people can't stand you than can. And I don't care if people feel that way about me. I'm here for the advancement of this sport. I love this sport, always have. I've dumped millions, not to brag, but millions into the sport. I've sponsored people. People will tell you that. I've sponsored classes. Myself and Jimmy Shiflett sponsored the Quick 32 back in the My Rock days to get a point series going because the Pro ET guys, for lack of better terms, were shit on. There was no championship points fund. So, not taking credit for that, but kind of am. That following year, Marion at FBR, he picked it up and ran with it. And I thank Marion for that, and I still do. Marion is missed in the sport, and the support is missed. But for guys like this, and don't get me wrong, I want people to cover this sport. I want this sport to grow. What Hollywood is doing is great, and did I have a bad experience earlier this year in Man Cup? I absolutely did. I'm not blaming Hollywood, never have. It's just happenstance. I consider Broderick Jackson a friend of mine, and I will return to Man Cup, and I support who supports me and who takes care of me, because I think some people lose sight. This is a business, but when you exploit the business like SAC is, it's just not good business. So having said my side, so people understand my animosity with this tight shirt wearing baby gap motherfucker, what do you think about social media and the media coverage for our motorcycle sport?
I've had off mute, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a couple, few run-ins with him. I mean, we brought him in to help cover the beginning stages of the series that we ran, which
Yeah.
I'm not affiliated with anymore.
Of course.
But during that time, he was, to me, and I was handling this, he was very demanding with me. And when I didn't give him what he wanted, he started hurling insults and threats.
Wow.
And and that was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm cutting off your budget. You can come if you want.
Yeah.
I want the sport to be covered. I want everybody to have a good time. I don't want women to feel uncomfortable,
Yes,
and
sir.
I don't like. Dude, I don't. I'm with you on the clickbait stuff. Like, I can't stand that. Like, cover the
Yeah.
sport. I wanted you to cover the race
Yes, sir.
and do it for us, and do it for the fans. Do it for people that don't know about drag racing. Do it
Yeah.
for the love of the sport.
Yeah.
And so when he and I had our first run in, I was like, you know what? I don't want that. I'm just not gonna have anything to do with it. So I ignored it.
Yeah.
I looked the other way. He did it more and more. People joke about it. People laugh about it. People see it.
Yeah.
It is very, very apparent
Yeah.
when your camera is fixated on a woman and
Damn
not the
shame.
motorcycle.
Yes, sir.
And which is part of the reason why I said at first, if somebody doesn't consent to being filmed and that film being posted, they just need to say something.
Gotcha.
If they're uncomfortable, they need to say something. They need to go to the promoter, the series director, whoever, say, like this guy being around me. If that's the way they feel, they need to say something about it.
Yeah.
But when you hurl insults and threats, especially, and you start mentioning sponsors and stuff like that, talking about who you know and all this kind of stuff, man, that's it for me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not down with that at all. So,
Yeah.
do we need? I feel like we need. I feel like the sport needs to be covered, but I think it needs to be covered the way we want it to be covered.
Yes, sir.
And I've actually considered. This is something I'm thinking about. I mean, infant stages, nothing's been done.
Sure.
It's just an idea of creating an entity, something like maybe motorcycle drag racing media.
Okay.
And I'm going to start looking for a professional that can go to the events that we want to cover and actually film the round by round of each class.
For sure.
And go back and edit over those videos, announce who's in the left lane, who's in the right lane, and tell what happened in the race.
Exactly.
And that's for sportsmen, that's for the pros, that's for the sanction up in Northeast, that's the one in the Southeast, that's the one, whoever, if the other sanctions want it, then, we'll find a way to make it happen. And this could be funded, obviously, by media sponsorships and just having the right people in the right place.
Okay.
I'm willing to put that together and I'm going to start looking for somebody.
Okay.
Um, I've got some interest from some media sponsors already.
Okay.
Now, I'm hoping maybe the right people will hear this message and reach out and we can actually get something started. But
Yeah.
I'm letting you know that I'm
Yeah.
going to start looking for somebody.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think that's monumental. And the last time you thought of something, it's turned out to be great. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not slighting Sonny. It was a joint effort, but you guys continue to, Sonny continues to flourish. So the last time you had a really good idea, it's panned out. So I like this. And me personally, if I wasn't the racer that I am, which I want to sidebar that too. I read a post by Sonny earlier this week, basically with some rhetoric. Whether Sack started that, because God knows he's all about controversy for fucking clickbait. He should be more interested in buying the proper size shirt. But sorry. Anyway, Sonny posted, does anybody have a problem with him racing, even though he's the promoter? And my take on that is, if he puts his customers first and he gives you a place to race, why shouldn't he enjoy what he created, what he's part of? And I'll rewind all the way back to Jason Miller. Jason Miller was part of My Rock. He might not have owned it at the time, but he was a huge part of it and he raced. And as it grew, unfortunately, the sport that he loves and the hobby that he loves, he had to take his leathers off. And I'm personally grateful for his sacrifice for that. And I hope that doesn't happen to Sonny, but I would love to be that guy to say, hey, Brian, I'm that guy to run around and cover all these races. I'm just not willing to hang it up. So I hope there is someone listening out there, and I hope the sponsors really get behind this. And and I'll be honest with you, and I'm just going to go out on a limb. I think your guy's JT Norton. And the reason I say that is that man digs in his pocket and scrapes and scrapes and scrapes. And every single time I see that man, he's full of nothing but smiles, nothing but compliments, and nothing but professionalism. If
He's
he
a good, genuine guy for sure. 1,000%.
Yeah, absolutely. So if he's covering a race or he's talking to your wife, my wife, anyone else's daughter, girlfriend, whatever, he's viewing their face and having an actual conversation. He's not looking through their legs to talk about a pipe issue or torches should be run or not be run. So that's the kind of not WWE shit tuxedo wearing at 100 degrees. This is not a clown show. We need to get ourselves out there, and that's the brand that Hollywood is really developed, and I commend him for that. That man really has kicked his own ass and given up, much like I just said Jason did, the sport he loves as a rider, to cover the sport by buying the Man Cup and trying to move it forward. And I don't want to misconstrue anybody. I don't have any ill will with Man Cup or Hollywood. My analogy back then when I posted, because I am a person that I have to vent or I walk around. I'm a straight shooter. It doesn't make me right. And I know I overstep and make people irritated. But when I said what I said about my experience at Man Cup, it was to help them get better. It was no slighting. If people really read that, it was more so of, I want him to succeed. I want Man Cup to succeed. I don't want, the AGCO raceways to close up. The worst part about AGCO Raceway closing up is their fucking bar. And everyone knows I'm kind of like, I don't know, #winning drunk. So I want that to happen. So the people that think that is good, Sack is good for that, I just, he's not. He's not, because of all these kind of chinks and issues. And people say things much like I did 3 years ago, and it's fallen on deaf ears. It's almost like the hair gel has just fucked his mind up. I don't even understand. So when you come up with a creative way to rectify this issue and try to move our sport and our situation forward, man, I'm a fan. So
Right. And I've got mad respect for Broderick. I know a lot of what he's doing with the Man Cup is getting footage and getting coverage, and let's grow the sport. And man, I'm with you 100%. That's all I'm about. And mad respect to JT, dude. He's very professional, does a great job.
Yes.
But it's our families that go out here, man. Our pit crew is normally our brother or somebody, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if they're not our brother, you know, everybody. When I go to the track, everybody treats me like family, and
Yep.
that's the way I want to. That's the way I want to keep it. But I bet you,
Yeah.
if more people knew that that's how it was,
Yeah.
there would be a lot more people in the sport.
You're
And
absolutely right. Yeah.
more people in the sport means more places to race and more fun to have and more fun to love and share and grow, etc.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, having said all that, I know we got to this at the end, Brian, but I appreciate you taking, over an hour of your time to really talk about, your experience, how you got into racing, how you started SDBA. And I don't care if you were in for 1 year as a sanctioning promoter owner, you made a difference. And for that, I appreciate that. And I just want to wrap this up by asking, is there anybody you want to thank or bring up or speak of before we wrap it up?
um, I mean, everybody at your local track, everybody that's in motorcycle racing,
Okay.
but for sure, Sonny, for I mean, he and I put that thing together, and he's really taken off, and he's doing something great for the sport,
Yeah.
and for everybody else hosting a series,
Yeah.
and everybody else trying to do it, the correct way, and everybody respecting the rules. The rules are there for a reason.
Yeah.
Don't show up in round two with an extra buyback. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or,
no.
or whatever. Try to skate the rules and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, man, just appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed my time with you as always, Mac.
Yeah. Well,
And
thank you, man. That means a lot. And my thank you list is not super long. Of course, I thank my sponsors, McAdams Motorsports, McAdams Properties, Monster Race Products, Full Spectrum Power, best batteries in the business, car, bike, whatever, because obviously I'm about cars and bikes. Dave Snitz Racing, longtime sponsor of mine, and I'm sure SDBA can say they appreciate you, Dave, just like our sport does.
I
Um,
appreciate Dave very much. He does a lot for the sport.
he does.
Absolutely.
He
There's a
does.
lot. There's a lot more people to thank.
Yeah.
I'm a. I know I'm forgetting and not thinking about enough people, but you know
Yeah.
how that gets.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. We touched on our short-term memory, but it's the likes of Matt at Vanson, Dawn at Bates, MTC. When you walk down that midway, we have to support the people that support us. I personally, I buy all my business stickers, banners, and everything from Dusty Bransel from What a Graphic, and they're BFE for me. They're 20 hours away from me, but I don't care. That man is about our sport. I patronize him. So if you're about our sport and you want our sport to grow, invest in our sport. Don't just invest in yourself. When you get pissed that you have to pay $1 for the sanctioning body sticker at XDA, well, come on, man. This is
Let's
not. Yeah, it's not happening because they just felt like doing it. The lights don't come on because you ask them to.
here's
So
the. I mean, here's the other thing. If you're gonna go, this is. I'm getting a personal opinion here, but
sure.
if you're gonna go and you're gonna try to be competitive and you're gonna win,
Yeah.
look at who's supporting our sport
Yeah.
and go buy from them
Yeah.
because they've invested money to get your business, and
Yep.
you know, small business
Yeah.
is what makes everything thrive.
Yep.
And everybody wants a discount or whatever, but
Yep.
you know, small businesses can't grow. That's not the place to get your discounts, man.
No.
They need to make that little extra 5 or 10% profit so that they can um, continue to keep the doors open and keep doing what they love to do. So
Yeah.
all the small business, medium businesses, whoever that support our sport
Yeah.
and give back by sponsoring a race class, sponsoring a race,
Yeah.
media sponsors, associate sponsors. Look to all those people, man. If Rick's Heating and Air is sponsoring freaking Top Gas or
Yeah.
even an associate sponsor,
Yeah.
and your air conditioner goes out, that's the business that you ought to be calling.
100%. And to parlay that, like Rob Honeycutt, he's a glass man. You go to Maryland International Raceway, he's on the tower. His signs are leading in, they're on the fences. And do I think Rob really gets return on that investment? I don't know. I can't speak on that, but I know I appreciate it because that man's investing in something he loves for all of our benefits. And I have done that. Like I said, I've sponsored, I continue to, and I bought people's tech card, and it's a give and take in this world. And some people are takers. Some people don't care at your expense to make a dollar. And that's just a shitty human being. And I'm a lot of things. I know I overstep and I say shit that I shouldn't say. Last thing I'm gonna do is take a dollar from anyone, you know. So yeah, I appreciate what you're trying to do, and I hope the folks really get around that with the media thing. And JT's last words to me on Saturday last weekend was, I don't know if I'm going to be able to come back. And I asked him why. And he said, my car blew up. And JT now lives in Colorado. And I'm pretty fucking bummed about that. And maybe
Yeah.
we all can get around it because, you know, they don't come classier, better in the coverage than JT Norton, you know. And I'm not slighting Brandy. Brandy, you're the best. DragCycle&Cars has been a goddamn 2 decade, 25 years
You
supporter.
talk about somebody dedicated. DragCycle&Cars is dedicated.
100%. Yeah, Brandy's awesome. Everybody that she gets, we appreciate you, Brandy. I know I personally do, and I love talking to you. And you know, everything in life that's worth doing costs a shit ton of money. So we need to understand we're all broke on different levels. We can go out here and we can run Top Fuel or we can run fucking Street ET, and we're all stretched. It doesn't matter what that is. So people need to keep that in mind and stay grounded. I'll help anybody as long as I feel like if I needed it, you'll help me. So, having said that, Brian,
Absolutely.
dude, I love this conversation, man. I can't wait to hang out with you again. So, you know, even if you can't get a bike together, come hang out, man. You know, I know I'm going to be at Man Cup there at the end of the year. I think that's probably the closest to you as I'm going to get. So, I look forward to hopefully seeing you there.
You'll see me for sure. I drove all the way to Maryland one time just to spectate last year.
That's right, you did. I remember that. You know, it's always a good time. Well, you know where to come hang out, have a good time. And for Jason Miller and Chris Miller at XDA, I appreciate everything that you guys do for me, allowing me to be a part of the show with our cornhole tournament and all that. And we're grateful, man. I love this sport with every ounce of my being. I love motorcycle drag racing just like I love, you know, door car racing because I'm a door car racer. And I look forward to getting back at that here soon. So y'all stay tuned to that. And Brian, thank you so much. Go spend some time with your beautiful wife and enjoy that drink that she just overpoured, as you said.
Appreciate it very much, Mac. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Take care.